Apocalypse Not. Archaeologists respond to pseudo-archaeology by John W. Hoops. Maybe let's pull this out here. Oh, I said one thing too. And Flint Dibble, who I spoke to today in response to this, I said something bluntly, perhaps, but. And then someone I've never interacted with. Although often known by other names, pseudoarchaeology has been a recurrent theme in archaeology since the inception of the discipline. Emphasizing professionalism was part of the charter reason for the founding of the Society for American Archaeology. Emphasizing professionalism, so those who are not engaging in it's kind of like I think of maybe the Freemasons are like that, where it's like, oh, you're not, sir, yes, you're not behaving in a gentlemanly way, so you're not deemed to be appropriate in your actions, so we're not listening to you. We are better than that. Like a pinky in the air kind of thing is what manifests in this concept. Was part of the charter reason for the founding of the Society for American Archaeology in 1934. And the Society for American Archaeology has periodically addressed the problems resulting from spurious research presented to the public as if it were archaeology when it is not. This statement is under a broad interpretation of the current consensus or collective view as being valid, when it really is not inherently. It's not inherently true that we know what we're talking about. That's one of the problems with archaeology, is it's so disconnected from science. It's not really a science. We're going to find that out as we go forward, that this would never fly in a physics paper. It just needs details, evidence, not just sweeping claims of authority. This is a sweeping claim of authority. We decided that sometimes people make claims we disagree with, and our interpretation is because essentially when we look at it, we see they don't know what they're talking about. So that means every single person who we disagree with doesn't know what they're talking about. Maybe it doesn't mean that maybe there won't. It doesn't imply or suggest that a time will come, nor will we consider the possibility in our viewpoint and recognize it to be a possibility, that an alternative viewpoint actually overwhelms preconceived notions. It just doesn't provide an avenue for that. So it shows that they don't consider that a possibility. For example, 10 years ago, also in the pages of the SAA Archaeological Record, David S. Anderson and colleagues, 2013, noted how it had affected public perception of archaeology for people to propose things that are spurious, damaging. Oh no, there's all these alternative ideas that are throwing shade on our hard work, that we've meticulously arrived at this, and these people come along and propose alternative ideas. They don't understand the scientific method. We're engaging in the scientific method, even though archaeologists. Let's look at an archaeology. Typical archaeology coursework. Let's see what's up. Requirements. So this is for a bachelor's. 10 courses with at least 21 hours. Archaeology majors. Requirements of the general college. I don't want to read it all. Students must take one course in the logic of archaeological inference, 2 archaeological practice courses, a laboratory methods course, and a field school, 2 comparative perspective courses, 1 long-term history course, 1 topics in archaeology course, and 3 electives. One of the electives may be satisfied by offerings in any of these categories. Independent research, directed readings, or honors thesis hours may be substituted for the elective chosen from the course offerings. The other 2 electives will be in related fields. Courses approved to meet these 2 electives are listed according to potential student interest. Okay, so course requirements. Principles of archaeology. Fine. Okay, so we're learning about archaeology. It is obviously beneficial to learn things. Does that mean that they have the prerequisite knowledge to really understand what they're looking at? That's another question. Just because they learn this doesn't mean they have the prerequisite knowledge to know what they're looking at. So let's keep going to see how broadly they're trained. Archaeological theory and practice. So it's not really broad yet. We're all archaeology. History type things. So they're learning like conclusions that may or may not be true, or could be pushed on people as propaganda even, but hey, you never know. Human origins, which is certainly not conclusive. None of these. So what I'm looking for is, where's physics? Where's chemistry? I don't see science courses. I see archaeological courses. Very much archaeology, history, art even. Art? Painting. Art. That's cool they have that course. Archaeological geology. There we go. 1 course, geology based. Whatever archaeological geology is pretty much, here's the basics. You don't even know that it's true or not, but we're just, again, take our word for it that we've arrived at conclusions. So there's no like critical thinking at all. No exposure, I'm sure, to expanding Earth model. I mean, maybe some plate tectonics and things of that nature to make it appear as if they're like learning about like truths of the world, but they're not truths because it's based in PhD. Because it's based in just the modern interpretation is not valid though. The physics. So if we read this, like one of the things they're talking about is Occam's razor, which we'll get to, where there's 3 models in physics. You guys don't have a problem with that. You're talking about Occam's razor, but you're gonna just accept what physics tells you. Any physicist who is deferred to for any reason to have their interpretation applied to the archaeological finds to inform the study, we just say whatever you say because I don't fucking know anything about that. I don't have to because I'm an archaeologist. That's what happens across all sciences, where it becomes a niche and like there's no awareness, such as deference to someone who may or may not know what they're talking about. There's no like checking. Do you actually know what you're talking about? They must know. They must know. It would be such a like overwhelming commitment to learn myself, so I have to lean on. I have to. Are you sure that will work out if we're all doing that? But we're not all doing that. You know who's not doing that is people getting name called in technical papers. I'm sorry, but it's just true. That's what you're doing here. Pseudoarchaeology, speaking of it as if it's just a matter of fact and not even having to like prove it. Like as a patent examiner, I see all sorts of like you guys are not using technical language. You're just like using opinions like relentlessly, concerningly, and it's just not valid to do. Like, that's not how science works. Just because consensus has like established something doesn't mean that it doesn't need defended by just oh, pseudo archaeology. They're not saying what we're saying, so we're gonna name call since we've established this pseudo archaeology, pseudo archaeology. Just name call. Start to come up with excuses for the like, which we'll get to, of racism, white supremacy. That just becomes like hand waves over everything that disagrees with consensus. There's some weird things going on in archaeology because it's able to, because it's not a hard science, it's a soft science that's really like touches on science, but it doesn't really require the typical average archaeologist to actually know a broad spectrum of science. I mean, no offense, guys, it's just what we've concluded to be sufficient. And then here's your degree where society affirms you, and then you can like, I did it, I'm one of those things, I worked for it. And then it's like, now I'm on that side, I worked for it. What, man? I worked for it. What, you gonna try to tell me how it is? I see it even happening in the students. Like, oh, it took 2 years. I took 2 years. I'm a, I'm a student. I'm gonna tell you what I know now, because you're not what are you, a post student? You're not even, you didn't even take 2 years. I'm 2 years in, dude. It's like, what are we teaching? David S. Anderson and colleagues noted how they affected public perception. Maybe get good, noobs. Be better at what you're doing, which means learn other subjects. Stop doing it this way. This way is too limited. Jim, could you tell me the geological interpretation of this region? Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Well, Jim said, put a little number, put a little reference. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim's such a... See how we figured it out together? Even though these references, like, the only reference I even looked at was a blog post. Like, okay, so you're not even bothering to use technical references? I don't know if this is technical. It's in some journal, but I'm not gonna, this. Okay, purveyors. Let's look up this word, purveyor. Its meaning: a person who sells or deals in goods. So a person who sells or deals in pseudo-archaeology. Is that not slanderous? Especially when archaeology is pseudo-archaeology, because it's not fucking true, dudes. You guys aren't done. If you were done, you wouldn't be working, you'd be just teaching. So it's pseudo because it's not actually done. Oh, well, we're working and teaching. Well, why are you working if you got figured out? Oh, yeah, you don't. So that means some shit that you think is true is going to be shown to be false. What does that make you, a purveyor of pseudo-archaeology? Or a dominant viewpoint person just like lazily behaving scientifically? Like, that's not science. To be like, pseudo purveyor of pseudo-archaeology. You mean someone who's trying to share their opinion and you're not fucking listening because you're sitting on your goddamn high horse? Is that what you mean? Because that's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like. What do they say? Call a spade, you know? Given the rising... danger, guys. Given the rising popularity in pseudo-archaeology, beliefs among the general public reference this thing. Let's see what this reference is. Chapman. Chapman. Okay, that must be this one. Oh no. I don't want to lose it. Here's the where this is from. Okay. Chapman. I mean, they're trying to basically say, like, this is not allowed. People are not allowed to voice their opinion. Here's why. Here's why. Let's see why. Another post on a website as a primary reference. For more information, we did a survey. What the fuck did they reference? Oh my god. Danger! It's worth asking whether what used to be referred to as fringe, another derogatory term, rather than just being like, you know, we're all kind of working this out. We know we don't really know yet. We acknowledge we don't really know yet. So we're willing to entertain anyone with ideas. Anyone with ideas? No. No ideas but ours. You guys with ideas aren't really coming out with good ideas, so we're just gonna ignore everyone ever, except for those who go through the steps, and make it so that only a small percentage of this huge population of people are allowed to present possible ideas as if they have merit. Otherwise, they're all fringe, up fringe. You guys are what, 10,000, maybe 100,000 global archaeologists. And you guys think that the truth is going to come through you, just like physicists, just like geologists, just like every science. Like, are you sure about that? Just probability, dudes. Occam's razor. Reject logical fallacies. Remember, baloney detection kit. Like an article referencing this as like basis for anything. Oh, someone did a survey. Who cares what the survey was? It showed something that was sufficient for us to show concern. Ah. It is worth asking whether what used to be... Okay, anyway. Has also confronted the problem of pseudo-archaeology in various ways. Confronted. Oh, we gotta stand against these ideas. Not only is it like the ideas are not just like silently ignored completely. We gotta take action because look around, guys. Our voices aren't influencing the world to see things through the lens of our conclusions. So we gotta take out them. They're doing it. Causing a ruckus, muddying the waters. We figured it out, even though we call everything theories. We figured it out. He's a racist, white supremacist, boom. Pseudo-archaeologist, look at his background. Never mind my background. I'm not impressed, dudes. I mean, cool, you guys know like technical archaeological procedures and methods and things that are relevant for sure, like details, but also, you know, false details that need to be like figured out what's actually true. And if you're just absorbing this as if it's all just truth manifest, you really don't have a way to decipher that without other sciences, which are not present in the coursework. I mean, this is literally it. So if you're not interested on your own, There's no obligation to be. Yet you can, like, perform as an archaeologist in this world, a world that's in this universe, that's on this planet. I don't think so, dudes. That's not how it goes. But hey, nothing nothing multidisciplinary. Don't even try to encourage a multidisciplinary approach as individuals. It's too overbearing to learn more than one thing. Okay, where are we at? Let's get going. I've only made it half a paragraph in 20 minutes. Da da da. Also confronted at the 2023 annual meeting in Oregon, SAA hosted a forum titled Faking It and Making It, Engaging with Pop Culture Threats to Archaeology. You mean like yourselves? No offense, like, to people following behind the people who are, like, faking it. For instance, anyone saying, like, that the key, I don't even have to know how to pronounce it. Anyone saying this is made by people doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Doesn't know what they're talking. Oh, look. Faking it and making it, though. That's how it goes. Got that degree, said some words, wrote a technical paper. It got published just like this one. And therefore, it's merited. That's all it takes. Well, we agree. Merited. That's something we agree with. Therefore, because we have power in numbers and not in truth, we're gonna have time in the sun. That's what happens. First draft of which was prepared by John W. Hoops and Flint Dibble to the CEOs. All egregious that they could allow for Graham Hancock to put forth a series. I mean, he was pretty ruthless, maybe a little assholery, but it's not warranted. I mean, look at the language. Pseudoarchaeology spoken. It's kind of like when I look at a like mental, like if you look up like a technical paper on narcissism, perception of narcissist. It's just spoken as if it's just factual of narcissists. The narcissistic. No, it's not calling anyone the narcissist. I've read one that called the people the. Oh, here we go. But is the narcissist herself the narcissism spectrum? It's all under this language where this conclusion is deemed valid and spoken of as if it's true. Same thing here. It's just name calling, dudes. It's not even valid. Just a lack of understanding where the people who are trying to understand and in a position of power to deem some type of conclusion have concluded that the problem is in terms of mental illness, like bipolar, narcissist, ADHD, some reason that their lack of comprehension is excused so they can move on with their lives and judge someone else. Oh, narcissist again. Oh, yeah. That's all. Problem solved. Check. Pseudo-archaeologist. Fringe. Crank. Whatever terminology to just hand wave. This is easier than actually trying to look to consider if anyone has any merit in what they're saying. They're all just white supremacists. I mean, it's honestly so ridiculous. That is mind-boggling that this is part of the world we live in. That there's a discussion going on in archaeology that is just straight up like what it all comes down to. To a point where the whole article is like strongly discussing these terms. Prefacing a set of reviews in American Antiquity of Pseudoarchaeology books that we have deemed to be. Understand if like any of these books say a single thing worth noting and incorporating into our collective understanding, then that, like, let's say Michael Faraday. Did everything that like Einstein ever said get incorporated? Does that mean that he was a pseudo-scientist? Even though, besides the point whether or not it's true, it just is ridiculous. It's not actually logical. They're talking about logic in Occam's razor, but they're not actually being logical. Maybe I'm not either by being aggressive. But, like, let's keep going. Noted the success of the cable. Note this ancient aliens thing. Now, with over 221 episodes and the prevalence of pseudo-archaeology books on Amazon, I don't see you archaeologists coming out with series discussing all of these artifacts that Ancient Aliens brings up and discussing them in a way where it brings people to watch it. So what is the problem if people understand it's not like the truth, it's Ancient Aliens. It's not it's not like the Bible manifest in video form. It's fucking called Ancient Aliens. Sure, people are gonna see their arguments have merit in places where they don't really. But that's okay, because we're working things out as a collective, and the only way to figure things out is like ants to go many ways. If we're like, only this way, well, over this way, maybe there's some food. Like, I think there's food this way. You know how ants work? They come up, they find like a piece of sugar, they're like, oh shit, sugar. And then they go back to the colony, they're like, yo, dudes, this way. They lead everyone back over. They get the sugar and they bring it on back to the colony. They don't fucking say, you know what? There's probably food that way. Come on, guys. Whole colony marches behind one ant, just looking for food. Where could it be? It's gotta be this way. Look, stop telling us this is the wrong way. You pseudo ant. I'm the leader ant. You're the pseudo ant. I took courses on this. There was food there. There's food there. What do you mean it could be gone? It's always there. It's eternal. We figured that out in ant year 1418. Pseudo ant. This way. Just mindlessly march off a cliff, down a cliff, into the water. It's across the water. Certainly. Never mind the flames in front of us. We're on the right path. Just keep following me. Anyway, that's the problem with this type of behavior. Like, as long as we have a agreed upon consensus, the consensus view is that things aren't true just because something exists in the world. Saying something is true, even if a lot of people are moving behind that thing as if it's true, doesn't mean it's true. As long as we know that collectively there are people who are in accord to search for the truth and consider one another's opinions, then what's the problem? Except for a fear of losing control of the narrative. It's like, well, we're archaeologists here. We actually have control of the narrative. If you want to talk archaeology, you gotta do it through us. We're the science here, even though we're not really scientists in like a traditional sense. There's like, where's physics at all? Like, it doesn't matter? Are you saying it doesn't matter? That just shows that you don't know what you're talking about. See the problem when it's just like fact of the matter? Some say that by merely engaging with pseudoarchaeology, we legitimize it by creating the appearance of a debate. And I would agree, but would offer that ignoring pseudoarchaeology has a similar effect, as one of the main assertions of pseudoarchaeology is that there is an establishment conspiracy to bury their work. It's not really a conspiracy, it's not even a main assertion. A main assertion of pseudoarchaeology would be that you're wrong, dudes, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That would be a main assertion. Anyone proposing alternatives is like, you know, that thing you're saying doesn't capture this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. Dude, what are you doing? That's one of the main assertions. And then the conspiracy to bury their work is really just the design of the system. You're paid as an archaeologist to do whatever it is you do, not to consider people are like, hey, I disagree with you, with what you guys are doing. You guys are doing things that are wrong. I disagree with it. Here's why. Maybe you do it like a few times and then you look at the things that people are saying and you're like, you know, they're all fucking morons. What am I supposed to do when I get messages from people like, here's the truth and it's fucking nonsense? What am I supposed to do? You just get jaded and numb to it to the point where you're like, pseudoscientist. Never mind that there's a lot of details not accounted for that will paradigm shift all of reality, especially things that are like not so solidly firm in our understanding. So it doesn't even take a conspiracy. It's just the design of the system is designed so that if you're not playing the game, you're not jumping through the hoops, and you happen to discover something, well, that's too bad. You didn't jump through the hoops. You gotta jump through the hoops. You see me? Look, I want to do that, discover that too, but I jumped through the hoops. You didn't jump through the hoops. So how could you have found anything of like usefulness or validity or like significance if I didn't realize the same when I jumped through the hoops? Pseudo. It's just human nature. It's not science. It's not the scientific method to do this. With regard to addressing pseudo archaeology, we are unfortunately damned if we do and damned if we don't. What, dude? Get out of the way if you don't want to participate in the scientific method that you profess to be participating in. It's not complicated. Acknowledge people have ideas and look at them, or get the fuck out of the way. Stop trying to stop people from sharing their ideas. Doesn't make any damn sense unless you just like, we got control of this narrative. We figured it out. No, you didn't though. So stop acting like it's damned if we do, damned if we don't. Like, what the fuck? That's how it is. We're in technical paper is just talking amongst ourselves. Hey, other archaeologists. We all acknowledge we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. However, archaeologists, you know, those of us who are real archaeologists, need to recognize. Look, I don't think everyone's on board with this. We got archaeologists who aren't putting their foot down. We need you, guys. Guys, we need you in this. We gotta defend our turf. We got people stepping on our turf. What, you gonna let them step on our turf? Call to arms, baby. Call to arms. Ooh, get the horn out. Pseudoarchaeology reinforces anti-science. Are you sure that this doesn't reinforce anti-science when coming from someone in a position of authority? Pseudoarchaeology. With regard to pseudoarchaeology and more. Are you sure that that's not hurting? That's like literal anti-science. It's like, it's not science, but it's presenting itself as science, which is really against science. That's not science. That's anti-science. It's like, we don't give a shit about the scientific method. We give a shit about we know what's up. And you better recognize we know what's up. Sit down. Sit down. Has documented the effects of that pseudo-archaeology, including the work of they just keep attacking Graham Hancock in this. Certainly a personal grudge against him. Had on the thinking of Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman. Bringing up the QAnon shaman. Hilarious. You mean this dude? QAnon shaman walking. Maybe this one has it. This is how they show him. Although I'm not sure that's him. This is how they show him. This is not the video. That's not it. This video. Some video with him walking through. Where the fuck is it? Escort. No. Here we go.
Dressed in outlandish.
Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. Oh. Oh. You mean this dude? This dude was being influenced by Graham Hancock. Is that what you're saying? This dude right here, right there, with these two officers behind him. This dude? Wait. They couldn't possibly mean this dude right here. That dude. Wait, it's gotta be that dude, though. It's just gotta be. I think that's a QAnon guy, right? I think it is. What were you guys saying about the QAnon guy? Pseudo-archaeology reinforces anti-science and anti-democracy conspiracy theories and is a threat to peace and democracy. You know what's a threat to peace and democracy? Is not letting people speak. Name calling. And just behaving like children. Straight up. I understand we're all children, so it doesn't matter how old we are. I get it. We are all children at heart. Head on the thinking. So Graham Hancock influenced the QAnon who participated. He just was there. He was there. There's videos of him being like, "Don't do anything. Everyone stay calm." Dude went to jail unjustifiably. But go on with your archaeological understanding of things. The real world impact of pseudo-archaeology is readily apparent. See what happens with pseudo-archaeology, which is this, not what they're like, it's opposite. It's like a mirror. Just take the mirror and say, bam, bam, right back at you, dudes. Pseudo-archaeology. Literally the real world impact where science, like, there's people with a stranglehold on control of the narrative, of the viewpoint of reality, of the collective, that do so through, like, institutions, through governments, through media, through universities, and through these types of means where they really impose an ideology, and people don't even realize that they're being influenced to believe and, like, defend this ideology that's really propaganda driven, because it's not based in reality, it's not based in truth. They're not just being told the truth, they're just being manipulated to not actually know the truth, to know opposite of the truth. And they're, this is good, it's pretty good, you pseudo-archaeologist. I'm not saying what, like, every pseudo-archaeologist has ever said is valid. Of course not. Probably almost nothing is valid, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need considered. It's kind of like the needle in the haystack. Like, what are we fucking doing? We didn't find the answers yet. It's simple as that. Stop denying that we don't know, and look again by looking at the things that are present. It's not like we need new ideas. We got this backlog of good ideas out there in the world that are just not even known, considered, and the scientific method is not applied to them. They're not allowed. Like Michael Faraday didn't write a paper where he's like, here's my peer-reviewed paper. Okay, is that good enough now? No. Do it again. They just were like, he's got a point. That dude's got a point. That dude, he's got a point. And then guess what? James Maxwell comes along. He's like, I got this, dude. Fucking done. Teamwork, because people working together then. People weren't so arrogant and illogical to just deny others who didn't have like background. Oh, you don't have the understanding that my indoctrination brought forth. The popularity of pseudo-archaeology in television shows, books, and other media, it's just like, it's factual. Just fact. The popularity of pseudo-archaeology. Go on. But it does indicate curiosity. It does not necessarily indicate acceptance. Yeah, but it does indicate curiosity about an intense interest in archaeology. So narrow-minded that it actually is just interest in reality, which archaeology is part of. Yeah. And people are interested in the past because it's part of it, and things that happen that are true, and understanding. People want to understand. It doesn't mean like there's an intense interest in archaeology, like, as it's understood. At that point, it's just like, highlights the need to address fence sitters. Again, call to arms, the majority of who neither completely dismiss nor unquestioningly accept pseudo-archaeology claims. So there's people who are just unreachable because they unquestioningly accept pseudo-archaeology claims, according to this assertion. There's fence sitters who are in the middle. There's those who are just unreachable because they just accept unquestioningly. And then are those who are reachable and are, like, on our side, literally demonstrating like a viewpoint of there being sides. Like, there's not really sides, all is one. But in this language, where it's just spoken of as like unequivocal, just there's them and there's us. And there's those in the middle who are not doing what they need to do. Get your ass on this right side. The majority, who neither completely dismiss nor unquestioningly accept, we must persuade them to come down on the side of archaeology and to value. So look at this, the arrogance and audacity to value scientific method and critical thinking. Are you sure that that's the issue, is a lack of valuing those things? Or are you sure it's not an issue, again, mirror on your own parts? Because it looks like, given my understanding of my valuing of the scientific method and critical thinking and logic, reason, thinking things through myself and not just deferring to others and then assuming that's sufficient and behaving like that as a collective where everyone just does it, being part of that, that's not really critical thinking. Valuing the scientific method, I don't see that happening when we just dismiss ideas. Let me look at the scientific method. Let's look at its exact steps. Okay. Define a question. Gather information and resource. Form an explanatory hypothesis. Test the hypothesis. Okay. Where in this does it explicitly say all the steps must be functionally carried out by the person putting forth a hypothesis? It doesn't really need to be that way. So if we just listen to people's hypothesis, understand, maybe they're not doing the whole thing, but that's like it's a rigorous process that takes work, especially when it's like surmounting the sheer evidence behind current interpretations that is just like incorporated in another detail, more reason to reinforce this ideology that's not true by mystery that we can't ever solve. Someone solved it. Nope, unsolvable. You don't know what you're talking about. It's unsolvable. What do you mean? We must persuade. Okay. In Hoop's course, so he teaches this fucking propaganda. You guys gotta understand what's like out there. We got pseudo-archaeologists, and we got you guys who are on the front line. It's like China. See videos of China. Chinese children warriors, maybe, or something. Military. Yeah, like this. This is what's happening to these children going to college and learning. They're being brought into the war. We're at war, dudes. We got pseudo-archaeologists. We need you to know. So let's go over something that literally uses the term baloney detection kit. No offense, but that just shows it's kind of just silly. It's not. I know it's Carl Sagan's term, but like, okay, which teaches scientific method and critical thinking through application of a baloney detection kit. It's just kind of childish. Application of a childish thing. Then we'll forever forth. That includes using Occam's razor and rejecting logical fallacies. Yeah, there's really not more to it than that. Think. Don't just accept something that doesn't actually fit with your understanding. Which really, like, archaeology, like, who is doing archaeology that's also doing that? Really, no one, because people who are, like, being the most following Occam's razor and logical fallacies, like, rejecting logical fallacies, people like that are drawn to physics because it's fundamental. Archaeology is not fundamental. This is physics. And then from there, like for instance, Isaac Newton. Enough said. Enough said, dude. Enough said. What was Isaac Newton doing? He was all over the place. Argues persuasively, according to you. Not that I disagree, but just notably the language where it's opinionated, that rigorous logical thinking is essential for science, and that such thinking is in turn essential for democracy. Okay, I do disagree, but okay. Democracy is it's not really like the method. Yet again, kind of the ignorance of not needing to know many things like outside of a certain subject matter, no offense. Like, I'm an archaeologist. I don't need to really know what's going on in the world. I don't need to know that our democracy has been taken over by agendas of many sorts that are not in the best interest of the people. I don't need to know. I just believe in democracy mindlessly. Rather than be like, we could do this another way, guys. We could just do, like, what we want and not hurt each other and, like, be good people, maybe, instead of having this fucking system of, go into the voting booth and then have it stolen. Whole thing's a sham. Oh, perfect. We'll wait another 4 years while this tyranny just manifests itself before our eyes. We'll get to vote again sooner or later. Like, that's how you take people's power away, by giving them a vote. Because then they're like, oh, I get to vote. Well, then I'll go about my business until then. Da da da. Oh, well, I'll do something about it in that vote time. I won't think about it till then. Well, he can handle it, actually. I'll just live my life. They're doing fine. I got my team. He's on my team, so check. And then next thing you know, no one gives a shit. No one's even voting in their actions. They're just like, well, system told me that my... Pseudoarchaeology programming on cable TV. Once fringe, pseudoarchaeology has become mainstream pop culture. Ancient Aliens, hosted by Giorgio Solakos, I don't know how to say his name, premiered on TV on History in 2009 and is now in its 19th season. It attributes past culture change to the influence of extraterrestrials. It was inspired by the long-term success of Eric von Daniken, whose work echoes even earlier authors. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're just talking about ancient aliens. Okay, let's get to your points. Presents its claim, okay, blah, blah. It relies on unexplained anomalies, which is good. What's your problem with that? Including out-of-place artifacts, which is fine, and argumentum ad ignorantium. We don't know, but could it be aliens? Okay, maybe it's silly that they always conclude aliens, but we don't know is like, are they wrong saying we don't know? It looks like you're agreeing that they are. When they say we don't know, it looks like you're agreeing, or else you wouldn't even like propose it that way. We know. We already know these. Put it in. Why are you putting in quotes if it's like actually true? Oh, well, we got explanations like the Dequis spheres. We've determined these were made by someone. Never mind, let's say, Meraki boulders. Oh, what are these? Were these also made by someone? No. What about, I don't know, the Bosnia sphere? What about this? Was this made by someone? I don't think so. And yet, unequivocally, we've determined that the okay. Yet another thing that this like behavior, pseudoarchaeology, just like dismissal of people. You don't get to speak. So I really don't get to speak, not without judgment. People are like, oh, what's going on there? Oh, is that what I think's going on? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Judge him now. Oh, judge him now. Any reason, but it's because of my circumstances. Driven here by people who deny valid points because they're busy making accusations of this nature. And people who are like Graham Hancock who don't pass along my. It's the same problem, different octave. He's got control of the alternative narrative, him and others. They don't want to give it up either. No one wants to give up their control over the narrative as we seek for truth to someone who disproves what they're saying. Series regulars and other cherry pick comparisons disregarding context and academic knowledge. It's a bold statement. It could say academic knowledge because that's not really something that's that widespread, is actual knowledge. Opinion, consensus, maybe theory, but knowledge is like a principle. It's known. It's not like supposed. It's not, we kind of agreed, so we shook hands, we agreed. It's known. He affirmed what I said. I affirm what he said. We know. So many things that are believed to be knowledge are not even true. Sad reality, paradigm shift. Ancient Aliens routinely credits monuments constructed by indigenous people to extraterrestrials, reinforcing white supremacist and racist beliefs. Let's see how many times white supremacy comes up in this whole thing. A different one. Another one talking about it. What do we got here? Anti-racist and black feminist perspectives. One legacy of the white supremacist and colonial origins of archaeology. White supremacy, it could be argued, is baked into the very bedrock of U.S. society and academia. Oh my God. Is it baked into physics? Oh my God. It's so lazy. It's so fucking lazy. Like, where are the references? So this is the first time in this article that the term white supremacy comes up, or supremacist. And what do? They just make the claim. No reference, no further elaboration on how it's the case. Just, well, because indigenous people did the things, it's reinforcing racism and white supremacy. To think that aliens did the things. Like, what the fuck? Those two are not compatible. That's the same as saying because people think indigenous people, things created by indigenous people were created by extraterrestrials, that reinforces homosexuality. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just a random word chosen, but one that is like, gets at people's roots. Oh yeah, white supremacy is a pain in the ass. Fucking whitey. Anyone who's white now is it like, you had your chance. And then racist, but you don't know you're inherently racist. Are you sure that's not racist? Maybe if we just stop looking at race, like, it looks like you guys brought it up. So you want to talk about supremacy? Like, let's remove the word white and just think about supremacist. What is a supremacist? Maybe someone who says terms such as this, things like this. This looks like a supremacist. Pseudoarchaeology has been a recurrent theme in archaeology since the inception of the discipline. Let's look closer. You know, some of them look like supremacists. Like, some say that by merely engaging with pseudoarchaeology, we legitimize it by creating the appearance of a debate. We won't even talk. That is so like, could you imagine? That's like a white person and disregarding a black person. Then that's racist. Like, that probably happened in the past where it was like, I don't even see you. In like a hateful, racist way. Not in a this world is fucking weird and no one knows what's going on kind of way, but in a like hateful way, like literally, nah, I can't. Did you talk to me? Don't do that. Literally supremacy, straight up. But we'll add the word white to it so we're not like guilty of it. And by if we're white and talking about it, then we're still not guilty of it, because as long as we're like bowing down to that this is what's happening, we're not guilty of it. But me, someone who doesn't just like, who's just going about life, you know, oh, I like physics, I like all these other subjects, and then comes along some ancient truths that these motherfuckers ain't heard. I come in, I don't even, like, it's not even literally at all about race. I haven't even thought about that kind of thing. I got some truths though. People like, hold up, white supremacists. What do you mean? Oh, well, here's what I mean. You don't agree with us, so you're a white supremacist like all those other pseudo-archaeologists that we've called like white supremacists and racists before. You didn't get it? We established that everyone who disagrees with us was racist and a white supremacist. That's how we do. Up in these soft sciences. This isn't even science. It's a joke. Degradation of science at its best. You guys need like a real scientist to show you what's up. Kind of like Newton. He was like, hey dudes, so y'all got some ideas, but this is what's up. And they were like, ha 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 ha. And then they were like, yeah, that dude has some points. Hey Isaac, what you think about, oh yeah, I already did that, son. Fucking slow. Get on it. Critical thinking, that's where it brings one to. Another example is hunting Atlantis. I never saw this. I might have to check it out if it's on YouTube. Because literally, if it shows anything that I don't know about, then I'm informed by it. It doesn't matter what their interpretation of it is. Doesn't matter. That's not what I'm about. I don't give a shit what it is. I'm looking at this. I'm like, I don't care what your interpretation is, but the thing is, if I removed interpretation from this article, there'd be nothing left. It's just all the interpretations of the authors. blah, 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 who claims Atlantis dates to the 5th millennium BC, visited Neolithic and Bronze Age sites on the Mediterranean and in the Balkans in his hunt. Flint Dibble and colleagues demonstrate that comments of guest scholars who never discussed Atlantis were edited, which is fucked up. I mean, that's fucked up, but that happens in other places too. Have you seen the media? Have you looked at the TV? You know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but you stand for this democracy. Anti-democracy, white supremacy. Sorry, dudes, but that's what's going on. We believe that scholars should anticipate manipulative production methods and get upfront agreements from producers about how their on-screen quotations and other comments will be used. Hey guys, just be aware. Your ideas may be used in alternative ways than what you would like them to be. Almost as if the evidence you present is not presented with the interpretation that you put forth. And if you don't like that, well, you better, be aware that could happen when stepping into these arenas, talking about some other thing, and next thing you know, you support Atlantis. You want that? Do you want that even though Atlantis existed and I don't even know? Because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Oh, oops. In November 2022, Netflix, based in the Netherlands, point out where it's based in. I don't know why. Maybe because the law's there. That wouldn't happen if it was based in the United States or some other place where the scientific method is held in esteem. 8-part docuseries hosted by author Graham Hancock. Series soon reached number 2 on the streaming service with over 20 million watch hours. It is rated among the top 10. Okay. Many of the featured sites are not well known to the public. Good. These include Gunung Padang in Indonesia. And these places, Göbekli Tepe, Serpent Mound. Oh, Cahokia. I didn't know he went there. Hancock reiterates and lightly updates the arguments. Another, it as a patent examiner, words like that were get that shit out of here. No, don't, end updates. What do you mean, and lightly? What does that mean? What does it mean? You're just putting a word in with some arbitrary meaning that doesn't actually mean anything. Lightly, well, again, arbitrary to you. Lightly updates to them, I mean, it doesn't, what does that mean? It doesn't matter because you just say it and don't explain it and move on. So as far as this is concerned, and lightly updates the arguments from several of his books that an advanced civilization that thrived during the Pleistocene was the origin for agriculture, pyramids, religion, focused on death and rebirth, and myths about culture heroes remembered in mythology as gods. He asserts that all direct evidence for the civilization was erased during the Younger Dryas by comets and a catastrophic global flood. Yeah, do you know about that? That shit is science, dude. You don't even know, though? Because you got people just like you denying truths. Although he never defined either advanced or civilization, which is again one of those things where it doesn't really matter. Let's figure out what the truth is and stop just semantically. Well, he said advanced civilization. What did he actually mean by civilization anyway? Well, it's advanced civilization, greater than y'all punk ass awarenesses and civilization. Is that hard to understand what a civilization is? Like a group of people that's large, global, big enough to be hanging out as a people and interacting and going about their business because they're in a society that's functioning. Hancock asserts that it just doesn't really matter what the terminology is, that survivors of this Ice Age civilization that included or was identified as Atlantis taught simple hunter-gatherer societies in the Middle East, the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia. It does, again, like, this is a hypothesis. It doesn't really matter what he asserts. It doesn't fucking matter. This is interpretation. He's free to have an interpretation. It's good that he's presenting the evidence, like these places, like as you yourselves pointed out. What, would you not prefer the public to know about these places? Do you feel that only archaeologists are capable of understanding what happened in the history? And if so, if not so, then why would you not want shows like this to exist that share things that are not well known? Like, it's, if it's saturated, we don't need to talk about it again. But if people don't know about it, then why wouldn't we want that? Oh, because it comes with an interpretation I disagree with. So, you think everyone who watches it is just gonna mindlessly agree? Well, they just won't know enough, so they'll be fooled by it. Are you sure you're not, like, entering into archaeology? Like, if you go back in time, did you know enough to know that this was wrong when you were here? Or did you, like, start learning and get persuaded and then come along and start writing these papers where you then go on and say that people will be fooled by their lack of awareness, when you yourself had a lack of awareness and then were just arbitrarily educated, really? Like, this is what we've arrived at right now. Like, it could have been 10 years ago, 100 years ago, it would have been a little different. And in however much time, it could be a lot different. So, like, it's pretty much arbitrary. Like, this moment in time, this is what we think. Boop. That's like one little pixel, really. Like, we got a whole spectrum. Okay, anyway. These heroes described in the series as bearded, and in 2 of his books as white. 2 of his... Okay, so these heroes described in the series as bearded and in 2 of his books as white were subsequently deified and commemorated by pyramids and structures oriented to astronomical phenomena, warning of a future catastrophe. So first of all, what if they were white? What if this did happen? Like, do you 100% know this didn't happen? So, like, what's the problem? Oh, well, we know otherwise. No, you fucking don't. You just think you do. I'm not saying that it's true, but just because it has the, like, aspect that someone had white skin doesn't make it racist. You're being racist by giving a shit about the color of the skin. Oh, well, he's white, he was influenced by white people, and that's why they were white. Well, maybe, but maybe not. So, calm your fucking jets with the white supremacy bullshit, because it's not really valid whatsoever. It's kind of bullshit. Just straight bullshit from scientists. As scientists have stooped to that level, it just shows the end is nigh. Even the most logical and reasonable, which science, like, pretends to be just a bunch of people in lab coats and shit, like, we're all engaging in the scientific method. Hey, well, did you get the error bar? You really gotta remember the error bar exactly. See, and then no, it's just people who learn some shit, get arrogant, opinionated, and then go about their lives. The end. From the first few moments of the first episode and throughout the series, Hancock tells viewers that archaeologists hate him I mean, it looks merited. So I wouldn't dispute this in your paper when he's like literally multiple papers in this one thing he's under attack. I mean, if he says the word hate, I don't know his experience. Maybe he's seen archaeologists just straight up hate him, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's true if I get famous. Physicists, geologists, archaeologists. Oh my god, the amount of like everyone, literally everyone's just gonna fucking hate me. Relatively, most people are gonna fucking hate me. Like I'll see it for myself. I'll be like, oh, there they go, fucking hating me as if they know me. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, look. Doing it again. That we reject new ideas. Yeah, dude, you do. And that we conspire to hide the truth. You don't even have to. You just conspire to control the narrative, to get paid. Like, oh, we're getting paid. We're the ones getting paid to do the work. So our lives are settled while people who are trying to do work in this area aren't actually getting like funding whatsoever to survive unless they like break through the resistance in spite of you fucking conspiring to hide the truth kind of behavior, rejection of new ideas. He insists archaeologists have a vested interest. You just do. You get paid. You can't act like you don't get paid. You have a vested interest in protecting orthodox dogma, are closed-minded. I mean, he's got a point, and teach false narratives. Got a point, dude. Got several points. While he interviews some archaeologists on location, he also features, quote, experts. So in this moment, we're going to say, quote, experts who comment outside their fields. Oh, outside their... Oh, you're only allowed to talk within your field of expertise. Just defer to the geologists. Defer to the physicists. Well, that's their field. This is mine. I don't cause waves by speaking outside of my field. That wouldn't be the area where I'm an expert. So I just sit there, being an expert in my field, behaving as if this makes any sense whatsoever. Not actually thinking it through. Oh, surely this makes sense. Go about life. Run into people like me. Oh, no, it makes sense. He's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong. Surely he is. This is whole fucking midlife crisis. Whatever life crisis. Dealing with the reality that it's he's got valid points. Businessman interprets Aztec architecture in Mexico. A marine biologist interprets beach rock in Bimini. And a chemical engineer interprets Neolithic iconography in Turkey. Oh my god, he can't even pronounce the words. It just goes to show that I only learn the single focused things while this person learns many things, and I have no concept of what he could possibly know because I don't know him. Oh wait, I'm judging him already. Wait a minute. How is he in my head? Repeatedly presents himself as a martyr for the truth against the narrow-minded dogma of mainstream archaeology. Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe in some ways, but you're also kind of making it the case by just not letting him speak and, like, conversing with him openly. Oh, so why do you think that? Let's have a debate. Let's have a discussion. A discussion. Not even a debate, like just a discussion, like mano a mano, like on camera, because we understand that this is a larger thing than us. And we're talking about it for people to see, but we're doing it openly and not like, you're wrong and you're a piece of shit pseudoscientist. You're a mod. Oh, they hate me. They hate me. Who was Graham Hancock, and why should you care? Assumptions of reader. Why should you care? Dearest SAA readers, Hancock has an undergraduate degree in sociology, notably not archaeology, from Durham University, and worked for many years as a journalist before becoming a best-selling author. He has written over a dozen books, including The Sign and the Signal, or In the Seal, which tells the story of his personal quest to find the lost Ark in Ethiopia, which is pretty interesting. I've definitely found anything I heard about the Ethiopian lost Ark of the Covenant as having potential merit. Anyway, and the Mars mystery, in which he claims the face on Mars was a monument from an ancient civilization. Maybe. I don't say I agree, but it's not like Talisman with Robert Bouval indulges in conspiracy theory in the wake of the 9/11. Indulges? You mean in the fact of the matter, dudes? Like, it's impossible to interact with people who don't know what they're talking about on this level. Like, they actually believe the official narrative of 9/11. Dudes, how do we interact? It's like Sandy Hook. Same thing. I can't talk about that with almost anyone. Like, dudes, you don't know. I've looked at the evidence. Like, actually looked. You just kind of like, nah. Found some alternatives, and I'll see. I knew it. Moved along. His most popular book, Fingerprints of the Gods, presented his first version of an ancient apocalypse that eventually found its way to Netflix. This book includes problematic details such as claims that Olmec heads had unmistakable negroid features, that the Sphinx was 10,000 years old, that a global flood caused by the shifting of the Earth's poles destroyed an Ice Age civilization, and that the ancient Mayas predicted a cataclysm would happen again in December 2012. Just because the calendar is not interpreted necessarily completely validly, I would say that just indicates that we didn't actually read the calendar appropriately. And simple as that. Sphinx was 10,000 years old. That a global flood caused by the cause of it doesn't really have to be what he says. Like, a global flood definitely happened. The evidence is truly everywhere. It's just a fish in water, and people don't know what they're talking about and deny the flood because they deny the Bible and God, really. This book includes problematic details. Okay, whatever. He updated this narrative in Magicians of the God, in which he highlighted the site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey as proof that archaeologists had been wrong about the sudden origins of civilization. I mean, he's got a valid point. That place is pretty scientifically rigorous. Noobs don't know because they noobs, but I can appreciate it. I don't even know. I can appreciate it, though. I can just be like, yo, that shit right there is for a purpose. It's not just like, let's make some. Well, what animate over there? Like, they know what they're doing. He updated. Okay. And in America Before, in which he locates the center of his lost civilization in North America and identifies Poverty Point, Serpent Mound, and Cahokia as part of its legacy. These are really remnants of that civilization after the flood, though, almost unequivocally. I think part of the problem is he believes the Clovis people existed. He also doesn't understand a lot of like arrowheads that are found are not even arrowheads, that they're actually geological in origin, because people don't know what happened. People just don't know the past. They don't know the earth expanded, it did so rapidly, and it did so explosively in ways where there's like shards breaking off of literal spheres of fractal sizes throughout the earth that are exploding and sending pieces that at times like hit a mammoth and then found lodged with the mammoth. Oh, this mammoth was hit by we found this human died by an arrow. They must have been fighting each other. That's the conclusion. They must have done this to each other. There's a mark of an arrow, even though, are you sure? It might just be explosive debris flying throughout the globe that's hard to avoid, where people started dying from that shit. Things started dying because the earth was going through expansion. But you guys just accept plate tectonics. I mean, so it's like talking to a wall to talk about that the earth expanded, when people just rely on other people. So like, how can I talk to you about archaeology when you like, to talk to you, I'd have to then like talk to a geologist, and then talk to a physicist, and then talk to a geologist, and then talk to you, because none of you can actually hold the same conversation. Like, you all need to jump in for your own personal inputs to have a conversation on the matter, because everyone's deferring to one another for expertise. No one's actually like jack of all trading it, like, because that's not sold in society as an appropriate method, or like a plausible method, or a useful method. I don't mean to say appropriate, but it really like necessary. If we want to know the truth, we gotta like learn more than like it's kind of ridiculous. Like, you have school, you go to school, you grow up, go to school, and you go to college, and then get a PhD, like, at most. Maybe a couple PhDs, but, like, the concept of, like, rigorous learning continuously is not a thing. Like, it's pretty much, you did it, you graduated, time to go join the world and earn a living and die and be a cog in the system, and that's that. Like, dude, there's more to learn. Reality is so cool. Why are we stopping? It's because we're being taught to stop, really, by people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Or maybe they do, and they're like trying to hold us back. Maybe because they know what's coming and have our best interest in heart, and I'm an asshole for really bringing the things to the surface that lead to other things that lead to ultimately, like, not good things. That maybe would be better to just let this ride. Oh yeah, you guys want to speak nonsense? Perfect. Okay, let's keep going. Reiterates, Hancock refutes any criticism leveled at him, which is good. Like, if he's refuting it, let's look at the word refutes definition. Prove to be wrong. Disprove. Prove wrong. In this case, deny or contradict. They're probably mean that one, even though hilariously the word has a more like absolute meaning than just deny. So they chose a word with a stronger absolute meaning. Hancock refutes any criticism leveled at him. Wikipedia articles describe him with this fucking world with the power that be that like determines we're the archaeologists. He's the pseudo-archaeologist. Wikipedia articles describe him as a pseudo-archaeologist or pseudoscientist, to which he replies, I find that rather absurd. I'm an investigative journalist. Got a point. Do you guys not know how things work? Like, he's a journalist. He's reporting some shit. Are you going to refute it, or are you just going to talk about him being a white supremacist? What is happening? says that referring to him as a pseudoarchaeologist is like referring to a dolphin as a pseudofish. He insists he is just asking questions. Yes, I agree that maybe he makes some bad points in regard to sloppy points where he's like, I'm just a journalist. I'm just a journalist. When really, like, yes, you guys have some point to question, but also, like, you're not addressing his claims rigorously enough to just put them down, put the claims down. Instead, you're putting him down. He insists he is just asking questions. However, in Ancient Apocalypse, he asks the questions, and then, rather than seeking a range of expert opinions, who's an expert? Oh, according to who? Yeah. See the problem when it's experts according to those who call themselves experts. We're the experts. We're the experts. We don't think about probability and realize that we're like low in number. It's kind of like 1% versus 99%. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's pretty much supremacy manifest in academia. Not white, not color, race. It's just a behavior that anyone can do. The end. Let alone diverse viewpoints or opposing arguments. He asked the question, then rather than seeking a range of expert opinions, kind of like science does, we made this observation. Now we're going to let the general public propose some possibilities. Hey, everyone, this is what we saw. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Now we're going to say what happened. Rather than seeking a range of just other opinions, because the word expert is really an opinion in and of itself. So get that out of here from like a just logical and structural technical writing kind of way, let alone diverse viewpoints or opposing arguments. Sounds like scientists. Sounds like you guys. Proceeds to answer most of them himself. Sounds like you guys, just more as like a collective body rather than an individual. So he's doing it in the way that's more perceivable in an individual. And that's fine. He's really giving his opinion. That's fine. It's not like anyone who watches this is like, well, I mean, that's fact. That's fact. Graham Hancock just speaks facts. We all are like adult enough, if you will, to like make our own decisions, come to our own conclusions. Sure, we can like interact with one another and be like, hey, maybe over here is some sugar and some candy, some goodies. I don't want to. Hey, come here, kitties. I got all the candy, kitties. All the ants come marching. Success of Hancock's series on Netflix may be due in part to the Joe Rogan Experience. Okay. Yeah. A podcast whose April 2019 interview with Hancock about America Before has received over 23 million views. No other archaeology-themed programming has even come close to this level of popularity. Yeah, because you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's boring when you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying he does, but at least he's like, hey, there's like mysteries. You guys are like, there ain't mysteries. There ain't mysteries. We figured it out. Okay, tell us about it. Well, coincidence, time, and erosion. So you're saying just coincidence? Yeah, cool. It's a coincidence. Sounds boring as fuck. You guys are making it boring because y'all know. Critiques of Ancient Apocalypse and responses. We, the co-authors of this article, have used the internet from blogs to social media to address Ancient Apocalypse since before its premiere. To address it. You mean to write tweets? Maybe you got strings of tweets, but like, address it. This is a technical paper? Okay. Dibble has posted Twitter threads and has written an opinion piece in the conversation to critique Hancock's evidentiary claims, his recycling of 19th century ideas about Atlantis, and his aggressive rhetoric against archaeologists. Maybe don't stop people from talking. It's not complicated. People want to talk about what they think and converse it to reason through and work it out. Then that's maybe what should happen. Hoops has given interviews to news media and podcasts, including Slate's American Archaeology, Kansas Public Radio, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, and the Bay Area Skeptics. He has also pointed out prior publication of Hancock's ideas by Ignatius Donnelly and others. Okay. Figgins has blogged prolifically about it on his archaeology review, published detailed rebuttals of each episode along with an overall summary. He was also a guest on Jefferson Public Radio's Underground History with Archaeologist Chelsea Rose. If you don't know why that's hilarious, then that just shows. In which they both discussed how Hancock seeks to discredit archaeologists and archaeology. I guess it's just here. This, maybe? I don't see any references. I just see someone talking. With archaeologist Chelsea Riddle. Okay. Numerous others have also responded online. Yeah. People trying to get famous. Trying to ride the coattail of Graham Hancock. Which is understandable. We all have our needs. I understand we all have our needs. Part of the problem with this society is it behaves as if we don't all have our needs. The only way you get your needs met is if you're compliant. Straight hostage situation with our lives to be compliant with tyranny. And these fools, no offense, actually are propagating it. Acting from a position of authority as if what they're saying is valid. But it's just not. But because they're from a position of authority, it really muddies the water when it's people from a position of authority insist that something else is false that's not false, or when they don't know what they're talking about themselves. It was one thing if they just let it be. Yeah. We're doing our thing, they're doing their thing. One of us will figure out what the truth is. Clearly they don't know what they're talking about, so we got that in our advantage. Let's keep going, guys. No, there. Look at him. Look at all this attention. I need attention. I know better than this motherfucker. I know better Attention this way. Here's my credentials. I'm an archaeologist. I'm an archaeologist. I'm an archaeologist. I'm an archaeologist. Just a bunch of people with archaeology backgrounds. No one with like rigorous technical backgrounds. I don't know if that's considered technical, but I'm an engineer. I don't see that technical. I see physics, geology, maybe. Geology, pretty technical. But not like physics or like engineering. So many technicals in there that I just like don't view it the same. It's just one is like rigorous, and then at some point it becomes very much opinion based, and that's where we're treading in this video. It's on the opinions of things, using the R word. Racism and white supremacy have been themes in archaeology of the Americas from its inception. Fact. The first problem, let's look at this. Colavito. This one's a blog post. This one looks like an actual paper. In the SAA, which doesn't seem to mean much, honestly. Oh yeah, in the SAA. This one maybe. Hunt for a lost white race. Anyway, let's keep going. Maltese archaeologists upset at how the series presented them and their data, and how Graham Hancock represented Neolithic people, aired complaints in the Times of Malta. Archaeologist, historian, professional archaeologists encounter varying degrees of pseudoarchaeology in day-to-day work. Things that we disagree with because we know better. Professors and museologists are approached to identify a rock that looks something like an artifact. Landowners may require CRM archaeologists to locate shovel tests based on dowsing. Uncle at a family gathering may be among the 38% of Americans who believe Earth was visited by extraterrestrials in the past. What's the harm? And noobs. Just dealing with noobs. Who did literal denial of something that is possible. What's the harm? Is that you don't actually believe it? That's the harm, is that you... Oh, but that's not true. That's not true. It's harmful if it's not true. But that's really your opinion, so what's the harm is actually a valid thing. It's harmful, again, to stop the conversation. If you don't got answers, then what are you doing? Pseudoarchaeology erodes public trust in archaeologists and in science. You mean people making valid points erodes public trust, and people who are stuck and behave as if like everything is mysterious and unsolvable. In 2022, a Pew Research Center survey indicated that only 29% of U.S. adults had significant confidence in medical science with respect to public health, down from 40% in 2022. Good. You mean after COVID? That's what they mean, after the vaccine was imposed on the world. Oh well, it's because of archaeology being these pseudoscientists. Well, archaeology is not medicine. We're going to go ahead and just say cultural heritage matters for reinforcing indigenous, local, and national identities, pursuing scientific knowledge, promoting education, supporting museums, and contributing to the greater good. What? Cultural heritage matters. What does that have to do with medicine? Rise of anti-science belief threatens cultural heritage such as it does medical science. The just absurdity of it all. Proponents assert the veracity of their own alternative explanations based on unreliable authorities. According to you. Are you sure it's not based on actual research? I know you guys you reference blogs, so I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. But, based on actual, like, technical papers, is pretty... Is that unreliable authority? Maybe it is, actually, you're right. I mean, scientists are good at, like, getting the data and presenting it. Not so good at interpreting it, no offense, but that's because it's a work in progress. But the data is not that much of a work in progress. Like, when we see data, it's just data. It's just, what could that mean? I don't know. Doesn't mean that later on we can't be like, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. And figure things out that are like, well, sorry, you guys were wrong. Like, what do you want? What do you want? You want an apology for being wrong? Sorry, you guys were wrong. That's the problem, though, is they don't want to be wrong. It's not like an apology thing. It's just people don't want to be wrong. But especially the more effort into something that we put into it. Understandable. And are offended when their territory is stepped on and denied. They're like, how dare you? Even though it's not their own, because it's really like society. So it's not like it's anyone's doing. It's kind of like defending some concept outside of the self. Like a government. The government's literally a non-living entity. It doesn't even exist. We all just agree that it exists and then function as if it does. That doesn't mean it will ever exist. Like you and I exist. In this case, these individuals viewed themselves as heroes seeking the truth who were above the law. Where were we talking about? German amateurs. Sometimes they attempt their own investigations. German amateurs, blah blah blah, hoping to challenge orthodox chronology, scraped paint from a Kartoff of the Khufu deep inside the Great Pyramid, undertaking destructive sampling without obtaining the required permission from Egyptian authorities. Yeah, because you're in the way, you're taking too long, get out of the fucking way. People got answers to find. If you're not participating, like, get out of the fast lane. Pull over, get into the right lane, drive casual like the rest of us. If you're gonna be in control of the narrative, you're in the fast lane. Get the fuck out of the way. It's kind of like you're driving down the highway and there's some fuck just like like 5 below the speed limits. The other person next to him, like, reasonably, because that's what they're doing. That's your choice to drive that speed. That person's choosing to drive 5 below the speed limit. The other person's just like, those clouds are nice. Driving along there. Oh, hey, what's up, Jim? Oh, yeah. Turn up the radio. Not even like, dude, there's a fucking row of cars behind you. Get out of the way. No. That's how it goes. You're in the way. What do you want from me? That's what mainstream science is in the fucking way. People trying to find answers. Guys holding the line up. There's people out there with answers. Not even just me. Including me, that's for damn sure. Answers you guys ain't heard about. Using the R word. Racism and white supremacy have been theme. The first problem-oriented excavations in what is now the United States were undertaken by Thomas Jefferson, a slaveholder, to address questions about the identity of builders of mounds in Virginia. The racist myths about mound builders have been addressed in details in books by non-archaeologists and archaeologists. So that Colavito is actually a non-archaeologist. So in this case, a non. You mean a pseudo-archaeologist? Is that what you mean? Because they're agreeing with what you say, but they're not archaeologists. But because they're agreeing with what you say, they're non-archaeologists and archaeologists, but not pseudo. Racist literature included popular 19th century publications by Josiah Priest, especially American Antiquities and Discoveries in the West, 1833. Where is your quote? See how they just straight up say racist literature includes, and then proclaim this to be racist without any evidence except for their interpretation. Was a hyper-diffusionist. You think he claimed himself to be one, or you think this is the interpretation of the authors? What the fuck is a hyper-diffusionist? Except for just science being elitist for no reason. Pseudo-archaeological hypothesis, which suggests that certain historical technologies or ideas were developed by a single people. Okay. That's on me. I didn't know that term. Attributing archaeological remains to almost anyone other than native people. Well, Clovis arrows are not actually arrows that are geological in origin, so you guys are attributing geological processes to living beings that didn't exist because they're geological processes that formed them. Does that make you racist? Earthist. That makes you earthist. You're such an earthist. These fucking earthists. They're so anti-Earth's processes. They're fucking earthists, man. I can't deal with these earthists. Notion of a mound builder culture different from the ancestors of living native people biased the work of Ephraim G. Squire, Edward H. Davis. What is this bullshit? It's utter bullshit. Now that I'm looking at it, like, that's the best reasoning for racism that you've got. Claiming that there to be present day racism is just referencing some works from the 1850, 1890 that in some way, according to you, are racist literature, even though you don't even like elaborate on explicitly quoting. Because if you're going to call it racist, you really need to quote the racism. Like, here's a quote where they're being racist. Straight up racist. Not just like being like, well, it appears based on the evidence that there were white people involved. That's not racist. There needs to be like racism. Like, this had to be white people. Those people couldn't possibly have done this. Only white people are smart enough, intelligent enough, awesome enough. Like, then it's understandable. Although, now I'm clippable. Fuck. That just goes to show, what was that thing somewhere over here where, like, it got, the Atlantis one got rearranged. Oh, danger. Oh, yeah, you think that doesn't happen to people like Graham Hancock? Like Joe Rogan, where they get taken out of context. Okay, let's keep going. Archaeologists are still coming to terms with our own racist history, past and present. This sounds like some, have you seen white woman kiss boots? It's like the same ideology that this is. Oh, we're so sorry. We did it. It's literally you weren't alive. Sure, like someone somewhere down the line benefited and then you benefited potentially, but that's not even inherently true. It's all a big fucking lie. This shit right here very much reminds me of the ideology that's being like pushed onto archaeologists apparently. Come to terms with our racist history, past and present. What do you mean come to terms with? Like, yeah, there's fucking racism. Alright, done. Looks like you didn't come to terms with it because this whole paper is just pronouncing it to be a thing that's just inherent in anyone who disagrees with you. Da, da, da. However, it is precisely because of this knowledge, collaboration, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, where are the Native Americans who are offended? You need to get some of them on camera, speaking their mind, be like, hey, man, my ancestors made that shit, bro. Look, this is what's up. This is why, this is what we say at least. I know I don't really understand it fully, but this is what we say. What, you want to say that's not what happened? That's what we've been saying for millennia, bruh. Look, I know you want to say white people did it. I don't know. But no, we got white people saying that other white people are racist because then in some way they mention white. And now we got a thing because we got shit like that woman going on where it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, reparations and things. Like, dude, you ever heard of like a overreaction? Like if there's a balance point and maybe whites are in some relative way in some out of balance state, but at the same time, like, gotta acknowledge the wisdom and understanding that being black offers. I mean, this is true. You get to live that life, I don't. It's true. It's just part of reality where everything has a trade-off. There's like, sure, you're more poverty stricken, but at least you know about people's struggles, where people who are like rich and like going about life, like they really don't understand. They're like poor in other ways. I know it's not the same and maybe it's not comparable. Like, we definitely need to get people out of poverty, and that should be a thing that we do, but that doesn't mean that like archaeology is racist. Anyone proposing that white people in any way did anything is racist. Like, at some point it's like, dudes, stop focusing on it because you're making the world racist by focusing on it. It's really that simple. Pseudoarchaeology can perpetuate racist and white supremacist tropes of Victorian anthropology, and archaeology can perpetuate their own earthist and supremacist tropes of modern day. These include hyperdiffusionism, which is like saying Native Americans did it all and there was nothing that anything white people did at all then, maybe? Because, I mean, that's what sounds literally the same, just mirrored, as far as I can tell. Models for a unitary, or like, we gotta figure out what the truth is and not just like, all is one way, every way. Well, that whole continent was on anything we find there. Native Americans, the people that are there, they did it. All the ancestors did it, and that's that. What are you saying someone else did it for? You don't know what you're talking about, you racist white supremacist. Pseudo-archaeologist. What's your background? What's your credentials? What's your basis? Oh, this person agreed with me, so we'll just call them a non-archaeologist. It doesn't matter what their basis is because they clearly understand. They've taken the time to learn to agree with me, and therefore they're non-archaeologists. I get it. They don't have an archaeology background. I don't want to say like they do. They don't, but they took the time. See, they're on our side. Give them respect. I won't call them a pseudoscientist, even though there's no or pseudoarchaeologists, even though the only difference is their belief that we have a point that's valid. It's literally nonsense. Da da da. Unitary organization of civilization that typically attributes civilization to white people and not others. Alright, as a white person, I can't, like, what am I supposed to say to things like this? Except for you're fucking out of your minds to be, like, portraying it like that's what Graham Hancock is saying. Making it about whites, white people, racism, white supremacy is literally wrong. You're wrong, and shut the fuck up. That's how I feel when I see shit like that. Like, what the fuck, dudes? You guys are, like, literally wrong to talk like that. So, here I go, being wrong in my own ways. Frank Collin, a former neo-Nazi activist who wrote books about Atlantis, Lemuria, and other fringe topics, favors white identities. Okay, so one example favors white identities for advanced civilization was founding editor of Ancient American magazine, which they still haven't, like, refuted it. They've just denied it. There wasn't a... Funny that word comes up again, that they said Graham Hancock refutes, but they haven't refuted. They just denied it. I'm not saying that it's true, but they're just literally blanket. Not true racism. What if it's true, dude? And the dude's not even being, like, racist about it. He's just, like, presenting his research. People are like, oh, I don't like what this says. He's racist. He's white too. That makes him definitely, that, like, reaffirms it. Like, it's just this. It's just obviously illogical. This approach that's archaeology has found itself behaving under, like, at least rebut with reason. This is not reason. This is just an opinion. There needs to be evidence. An opinion without evidence is just unreasonable. If we're having, like, a discussion of alternative viewpoints, we can't just be like, racism. Founding which promotes hyper-diffusionism, okay? According to the non-archaeologists, even, who you've referenced many times because they agree with you. It doesn't even mean 2014. Let's go to 2014. That was this one. It's not even, it's literally a blog post. Got that blog post. Oh, can't even, it's not even referenced, or no? Let's see. First comment. There's no connection between Frank Joseph neo-Nazi and the Frank Joseph who writes about fringe history. What are you talking about? These are the same person, so you can't claim. I'm saying that the master race Frank Joseph is addressing today is fantasy that belongs to fringe history, not to be confused with his activities of the past that belong to politics. Okay, whatever. This conversation is about fringe history as a Frank Joseph problem, and it seems like no one really wants to deal with it. Joseph, formerly known as Frank Collins, became infamous in 1970s as the leader of the American Nazi Party, in which capacity he was involved in the Supreme Court case, blah, 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 which established the right of Nazis to march and display swastika emblems. After his Jewish heritage came to light, his father was a Holocaust survivor. Colin at first denied the claims, but remained head of the National Socialist Party of America until his arrest on child sex charges. Never, like, why is this even relevant? Like, why is this person's opinion, like, relevant to Graham Hancock and all of these things they're talking about? Oh my god. Let's go back. Favors white identities for advanced civilization. Okay, so this person perhaps is like skewed in their perspective and not being like sound of mind. Okay. Author of Empires of Atlantis and a featured expert proposes a separate evolution of Homo atlanticus, a hybrid race of humans in the biblical Nephilim, and presents a theosophical argument for a superior Aryan root race. Nothing wrong with like considering possibility. I don't see a problem. If it's true, like why the fuck would we want people to not consider it? I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just saying, just because he proposed, like they literally say proposes. So let him propose it. Anyway, throughout Fingerprints of the Gods, Hancock's identifies Quetzalcoatl and Viracocha for foreign heroes as white and or Caucasian, citing Ignatius Donnelly, 1882. So he's just citing things. Like, it doesn't make him racist. White. He's like, white people are the best. It's so not. It's fucking nonsense. It's like if it was the inverse and it was a black man or a black woman proposing that an actual truth was found, and it was. Let's say it was actually true that there was these foreign heroes, inclusive of, maybe not entirely, of blacks. Would that be racist? Like if they're fucking making a valid discovery and citing it and referencing it and explaining it in sufficient detail to transmit the information and persuade people to see the truth for what it is, then what's the problem except for your own racism that's being taught to you by people who are like, we gotta focus on this. We gotta really focus on this. We really gotta focus on this racism thing. White people are bad. White people, you're intrinsically racist. There's nothing about you that could possibly be unracist. I can't be racist. I'm not white. White people are racist. I can't be racist. I'm white. Not white. Like, dude, that's not what racism means. It doesn't have a race. It's not like white only. Just noobs. Indoctrination by noobs. Hancock identified, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Clear that there is nothing scientifically valid about this book. That's all you got to say? One reviewer, we found a reviewer that didn't like the book, and we decided to say that reviewer's claims without actually citing. We won't cite the book at all. We'll cite a reviewer. We literally. All these things that are claimed to be racist, they don't even cite. And then they cite a reviewer who says something that they wanted them to say, and then that's that. While the intent of these authors is unclear, what is your intent anyway? Pseudoarchaeology often supports and reinforces ideologies of racial superiority and white nationalism. Nationalism? White nationalism. What does a fucking country have to do with ancient past? Dude, the logic is so flawed. It better be intentional. This has got to be intentionally flawed. Trying to stir some shit up with just like subtly buried intentional flaws that are throughout. Not subtle, I mean, they're blatantly obvious, but like two people who are like reading it as if it's valid. Just having subtle things that are like, we won't include anything except for what we want to include. We'll just broad stroke claim all of these books in their entirety are inherently racist and like at the root racism. While the intent of these authors is unclear, therefore unclear, so they're not even clearly racist. We go so far as to say they're not even clearly racist. They just appear to be maybe possibly racist. What it doesn't matter because what it does is it supports racism and white nationalism, therefore for potentially we don't know, we're just concerned because we're being virtue signaling and doing our thing as the gatekeepers of archaeology. We know what's up, therefore potentially contributing to violence. Are you sure you're not contributing to violence and injustice against black and indigenous people as well as other people of color? What about people of white color? Are they not of color? Oh my god. The fucking luda. Like, you understand these words divide us. Like, you must understand, but you're just like indoctrinated to feel bad for being white. Like, you can't feel bad for something you didn't do. Like, if you're being racist, being like, your thoughts are like, you know what, we gotta separate from those others. We gotta just kill them all. Anyone who doesn't look like me needs to die. Like, yeah, that's pretty racist. That's pretty racist. If that's how you're thinking, that's pretty racist. But if you're just like, we're all in this together, it's kind of weird, maybe. Like, I definitely grew up in a white family, but I'm Italian, which is maybe less white, although I didn't even realize. So I thought I was just like full-blown white. Maybe if I realized Italians weren't full-blown white, like they were like looked down upon whites. Like, you're not quite white. You're not quite white. It's almost like I'm saying right at that point. Quite right, but white. False assertion that all complex societies had a unitary origin as superior white European colonizing culture reinforces systemic racism. Systemic? Isn't this fringe? I thought we were talking about fringe sciences. Because if we're talking about systemic issues, guess who's in the system? Archaeology, not pseudo-archaeology. They're getting blocked out. See what you're doing? You're blocking them out. You're keeping them peripheral. They don't get to be in the system as like part of things. So if you want us to talk about systemic racism, yeah, you're kind of part of it, dudes. Literally, you're part of the system. You're not like fighting the system. You're like choosing to be part of it, which then like chooses to propagate bullshit into society. Oh yeah, blacks, you guys were all fucked. It was those white people. It was definitely the whites. Whites, look at the evidence. Look here, here. Look here, look here, look here. Meanwhile, white babies are like, what's going on? I don't know where I am. Apparently, I'm an asshole. I don't know. My ancestors were assholes. Are you sure? Do you know my ancestors? So why should I feel bad? I don't see the issue. Like, you guys are making it about race when it's just not. Claim that such a civilization served as the basis for white saviors who spread civilizing knowledge. Look, it could happen, dudes. Sorry, it could happen. Maybe open up your eyes to the fact that it could happen and is happening. Not that I chose to be white or anything, but I am white and I am spreading upon you guys stopping just like denying alternative ideas with this slanderous bullshit. I mean, civilizing knowledge through diffusion and or hyperdiffusion reinforces racism. Look, there's other people spreading civilizing knowledge. I know it's not just me, and it ain't just white people. So, like, just because someone's white and spreads civilizing knowledge doesn't make it, like, racist. You know what makes it racist? Giving a shit about people's skin colors. That's what makes it racist. Like, actually caring. Which maybe I'm racist in my own ways because I just don't interact. Again, it's more of just like a behavioral don't interact as much with people who I feel less connected to from a interaction standpoint. Like, I literally am more comfortable around someone who looks like me. Just that's the nature of reality. Maybe you also feel that way no matter what you look like. Certainly, I've heard people talk like that about being around white people. You know, these white people are, can't trust them white people. Just can't. Those white people. So, like, is that okay? Or are we just gonna, like, well, you know, they had their time. You guys are out of your mind supporting this shit. Let's move on to conclusions because I'm done here. 2 hours 15. In a presentation to the Human Evolution Archaeological Sciences Resource Network based at the University of Vienna, Dibble exhorted colleagues to mobilize worldwide. In the battle against pseudoarchaeology, and then he blocks me. I say one thing to him, he blocks me. That's the battle raging, I guess. What did I say? Let's see what I said. Also blocked. Replies. Archaeologists not simply allowing conversation to occur are actively participating in their own supremacy, but hey, down with Whitey. He didn't like that. He did not like that. All it takes, that's all it took. That's all it took. Pointing out the hard truth, dude. The fact of the matter, you're engaging in your own supremacy. So shut up about this white supremacy thing. That's not even valid. You're just literally stirring the pot of, like, hatred towards one another with invalid points. At least make valid points. You know, maybe it's a harsh point when I make it like this, but it's a valid one. They're not actually engaging in conversation. They're just denying people's right to converse. They don't actually believe in free speech. They believe in free speech for those who jump through the hoops and are allowed to speak. I don't even want to read the conclusions. Nazi. We got Nazis going on. Anything to associate Graham Hancock and any pseudoscience with, like, terms quickly. Probably something about the Holocaust in here. Oh yeah, and then he supported the Holocaust, and he loves to drink the blood of children, especially black children. Not white children, white supremacy. If anything, it's time to change. It's blah, 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 blah. Ongoing debate as to whether engaging with prominent pseudo-archaeologists is helpful. It's helpful to the truth-finding of society. It's not helpful to you, who are like, we're in control of the narrative. We won't engage. Maybe some ideas come along that have a like little substance. Sooner or later, boom, world exploded because you didn't see that shit coming. Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you got hit with some truth. That's what's up. Peace, bitch.